Good morning from OG Star Wars, Laura Baga. Grab your coffee, your hot chocolate, your tea, or any type of morning eye-opener you prefer, and let's talk Star Wars. All right, so I have reopened my Twitter account with the advice of Abu Nas. I've had it since 2012. I just never liked the platform. However, it is a great platform to help you with your YouTube videos, channels, what you're doing, your promotions, whatever you're doing with your business. And so you can find me on Twitter. And the last few days I have been in some great discussions on there regarding the continuity of Legends before the buyout. And so we're going to go ahead and touch bases on that and expand on that a little bit more before we move on in this chat here. Again, like, subscribe, and please share this video. My goal is to at least get up to 1,000 chats here soon. Not chats, that would be great to have 1,000 chats, right? 1,000 subscribers so that I can do this live stream. I would love to interact with you on the morning coffee chat. And so come on, you guys, let's do this. Let's get this going, so if you like what I have to provide, like, share, subscribe, you know the deal. All right, so back to the continuity. So I'm going to go ahead and touch bases on that because it's still a heated debate on the continuity of the original EU, which is coined Legends. And I've been chastised for sharing it, even when chatting about the new Disney Star Wars. And I'm the kind of person, as you may tell, I like to analyze things, and I like to cross-reference. I think if it has a compelling story, it is something worth looking into more and seeing how well the story is put together. And Star Wars has an expansive history. It's the only franchise, like I said before, that has a history that expands, in the millennium of its history, 25 centuries plus. And I have said I annotate, and I do. And those who really love books probably are screaming blasphemy because I write in my books. As you can see, I either note them for quotes, or I reference them back to another source that they're linked to inside the lore. So I cross-reference. I like to highlight quotes as well. And that's because I'm so fascinated with the lore, and I think it's just amazing how George and his employees, his franchise, created this vast lore. And it is almost, I wouldn't say anything's perfect, but it is near perfect with how well they kept up the history and lore. So I want to go ahead and just give you a quote that shares a little bit more on how they, what George thinks about the franchise, basically. Because when we speak about this, and people say, "Oh, well, he never considered it this or that." Well, if he didn't, then why is it there? And I did a video basically, and the conclusion was to it is, actions speak louder than words. And we know that George says one thing and then goes back and says another. But in reality, in real life, action speaks louder than words. So please check out that video. Okay, over the years, many artists and designers have contributed to the articulation of the various universes of Lucasfilm, taking their cues from minimal words of description on script page. Those talented men and women have sketched, drawn, and are modeled creatures of magnificent breadth, unimaginable terror, and mind-boggling eccentricity. Some of those creatures have made it into films, while others, because of the way stories unravel, and this is very important, have not so far. But this does not mean they do not exist. For once something is created, no matter what the context, it takes on its own life. This is a foreword written by George in the Monsters and Aliens from George Lucas. And so he's expanding on the creation of his franchise, and he's expanding on anything that is contributed to the lore, whether it's made it into the movies or not, is still a part of the lore. So that speaks continuity right there, and it speaks that there is no two universes, or they don't parallel each other. Now today they do, and that's why we're talking about this, you know. And so I'm going to go into the original trilogy remakes or special editions, because, you know, the original trilogy was not remade until just recently. And there was just minor changes. And as a person who is a creative, someone that, you know, has my own creative studio, I paint, I teach Native American art, which is beadwork. So I teach design and beadwork. That goes all the way down to moccasins and all that, and painting, drawing, what have you. We have the right as a creative to go back and edit anything that we see. Okay, this needs to be done better, this needs to be improved here, this needs to be taken out. And so that goes with the person who creates the story. And George created the story, and not only did he create it, he helped direct it and produce it. And now I know people are gonna get mad at me for this, and that's okay. But so the special editions of the OT that are out with the minor changes, when you look at it, some of those minor changes are to connect the continuity. So when we're done with the story on Return of the Jedi, and we see images of the different worlds, and the celebration, you know, and the little celebration of the Yub Nub thing is not exactly there anymore. That's linking the continuity. George went back and made that creative decision as the artist of his franchise, basically, to link not only the PT, but the EU. The PT got the world's, not majority, but not borrowed either, because they are part of the franchise, brought some of the worlds into the PT. And so he was just linking the continuity, linking the lore, linking the history. And people are mad, and yeah, I was one of them, that he took away Han's shot first. But does that change the story? No, it doesn't. So there's little minor changes that are done that does not change the plot of the story, does not change Luke's hero journey. It does not change the fall and redemption of Anakin Skywalker. So those are just little nitpicks, and I went a little bit too long on that, but that's okay. You know, this is exciting to talk about. All right, so right now I contributed one lore story so far, and my lore story is basically not retelling, because it's not my story to retell, but sharing the history of the character, or whatever I'm gonna speak about the lore. And so I did part 1 to Luke Skywalker, then and now, and my purpose of that is not only to share his story in my perspective, but also compare and contrast his character then, which means George Lucas's era, and now Disney's era. And so part 1 consists of basically the classical era, if you know the Legends timeline, or the original EU timeline, and that includes the movies. And so I went from the birth, so a little bit from the PT, because that's the transition right there, all the way to 4 BB or ABY. And so I not only included the video or the movies, which I just touched bases on, I went into the EU aspect of that. And so I hope you guys find that useful. It's my very first type of lore video. And so I'm learning, and I hope you guys enjoy that and share that. And again, like and subscribe. As I said, and this I did on my Twitter, I'm doing quotes because I'm focusing on Luke right now. I'm doing some quotes that are either from Luke Skywalker or about him or shared with him to another person. And so my very first one I posted, and no one commented on it. I was kind of disappointed. So comment on those, share, you know. So what I'm doing is sharing the quote and asking you what novel it came from. So we're doing a little quiz kind of thing, a little like, do you know where this came from? What source material did this come from? And just to share the quotes and knowledge. And if you can't think of where it came from, you know, the next day I will post where it came from if no one guessed. And I thought about doing an oil painting of Luke Skywalker, and then whoever got the most choice answers right, I was gonna, you know, go ahead and give that to them. We'll see. All right, so the very first one came from Shadows of Mindor. Now this book does have its good and bad reviews. I thought it was very interesting because Luke was still figuring out who he is compared to how the galaxy seen him and how he should be for himself. And then also still learning, still a little bit doubtful, but still optimistic. I mean, he never fell into the doubtfulness of just fleeing and hiding because he made a wrong choice, like we see in the Disney films. So I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. So I feel like I'm in a book club right now. Okay. I have known Jedi many, many years ago that knowing was not a gladness for me. I believed I would never know another, and I rejoiced in that belief. But it is a gladness for me to be proven wrong. I am happy to have known you, Jedi Luke Skywalker. You are more than they were. And that's Carvestor. That's... Luke shook his head blankly, blinking against the darkness. I mean, thanks, but I barely know anything. So you believe, but I can say to you, you are greater than the Jedi of former days. Luke could only frown and shake his head again. What makes you say that? Because unlike the knights of the old, Jedi Luke Skywalker, you are not afraid of the dark. And I think that is such a compelling quote with what we've seen with Luke Skywalker's character arc in the new lore. And Luke was never afraid of the dark. And I think that's what took him to being apprentice of the clones Palpatine. And it gives me chills because that explains exactly who Luke Skywalker is by someone who has known his father, has known the Jedi. And so go back and read this book and nerd out on those little parts of that. Because now that we have seen two aspects of Luke Skywalker, this is truly a gem. Okay? All right. Now, let's go into a little bit news. My channel's not about particularly the news that's going on in the Star Wars, but I do like to share my opinion anyways, because, like, the opinions, we all have them. And, yeah. So, it is rumored regarding Rian Johnson that he may not have his trilogy. His interview that has been posted and has been shared by other channels. You know, they all have their unique take on that, and I admire everybody who's coming out and, you know, calling out the bullshit that's happening. I said a bad word. Yeah. Oh, well. Get over it. Okay. So, basically, Ryan, he sounds kind of skeptical. And he has, with the words of, we will see, and we will see what happens. We'll see what, you know, Disney Lucasfilm wants to do. So I'm paraphrasing. I don't have that information in front of me. So I do have just a little bit of written down in front of me so I can, you know, just kind of keep on track here. And so what I get from that is not only that he hasn't started recording, he may have started writing scripts, but I also get that Disney Lucasfilm themselves don't know which way they're going. They keep on hee-hawing, going back and forth with, we're making too much too quick, and the fans are burning out, fatigue, which I don't get, because even when there was no movies, I was reading. Okay, so I don't know. Their logic is I can't understand. Well, anyways, so, and then on top of that, he says that he is also busy with other stuff. And mind you, he is not, thank God, he is not bound to Disney Lucasfilm. And that's the point. He is not. That's why he has other projects. That's why he did that, his last movie. He is not bound to them as a director, as a producer, or whatever, wherever they want to throw his Mzaki at, that means ass, but whatever. And so not only does he not, that he is not sure which way they're going at with his trilogy, it sounds like too Disney doesn't know which way they're going with the franchise. And so that's my 2 bits on that. So we're going to close here. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I wanted to keep these short and sweet until I can get live streams, and then we can fully get buzzing on more of lore talk and stuff. But please go back and watch my Luke Skywalker Then and Now video. I find that his story arc, like I said, is very compelling, and going back and reading books about him in the original EU will get you excited about him again, especially with how everybody's feeling about Star Wars nowadays, especially Luke Skywalker. And share the love of him in the comments below. What, like I said, what you like about him, and even the things that you're like, well, maybe they could have done it better this way or that way, because, you know, there's always room for improvement. And I wish I could say that, you know, yeah, they're gonna go ahead and improve something or continue the legends, and they've proven to us that they are listening in a sense with the comics. So let's get into the billboard. So go on to Twin Suns Foundation and donate so that we can get that billboard up, so that we can continue to let Disney Lucasfilm know that we don't mind the parallel universe now. Mind you, we were very sad that the beautiful continuity and lore that was created by George Lucas and his team in the franchise pre-buyout, you know, we're saddened that it was destroyed. We do understand that now we are offered it still in Legends, and we don't mind it being parallel to what they're making. We don't mind still continuing to get new material and enjoying what we love, while those who truly love Disney Lucasfilm or in the middle, love both sides, can have more stories. And that's what this focus is about, is more stories. And so when I share continuity or the EU, I'm sharing it because I want it to thrive, and I still want it to live. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, and if your feelings hurt, then get a life, okay? And yeah, so I'm not trying to hurt or create further split. I am trying to share and continue the love of the expanded universe. So have a good Thursday morning. Enjoy your coffee, and please like, share, and subscribe. And let's get me to 1,000 subscribers so that we can go live. All right. Have a great day.